Folks, welcome back to the Wanneroo channel. So today we have an awesome review on a Burris RT-6 scope. And this is something where these days things are moving along and Wanneroo is stuck back kind of in the 1980s in a way. I've always shot iron sights with rifles pretty much my whole life. But look, I accept that, hey, times are changing, technology is getting a lot better, a lot more useful in some ways, and some of the old school ways, well, they can still be applicable in many ways out there. Shooting iron-sighted rifles is still perfectly just fine. But optic technology is moving along quite a bit. And it would be stupid not to basically wade into it and start getting into some of this and looking at some of these optics out there. So I think on the channel over the next couple of years, you are going to see more optics reviews and also too, setting up rifles for them and pistols and all that. So expect to see kind of more of that as we move along. Now, what attracted me to this scope? Well, the thing is that I was out shooting with some folks out there at the range, and one of the dudes had a AR-15 that was set up with this particular scope, and wasn't really thinking much of it or didn't really know anything about the scope. And another person had a very expensive Trigicon scope, and it just so happened that I was using that a fair bit, looked through it, and then had a look through this Burris scope. And I was like, damn, looking through this Burris scope, it let more light in. It seemed like the image was sharper. It just seemed better overall. And I was like, how much does this cost? And I think they said, I don't know, 300, 400 some bucks. And I knew the Trigicon was like 1,500 bucks. And I was like, wow, okay. So for my first, optic for an AR-15 type rifle in terms of a scope, I thought, hey, let's kind of go with maybe what I know, and we'll go and check out this Burris here. So let's take a look at some of the different stats with it and the owner's manual and dig into that. What else comes in the box? Well, you get a little tab here talking about the warranty. Apparently this is some sort of forever warranty. No charge, no warranty card needed, no receipt, no questions asked. So if you ever break it, whatever, apparently Burris will take it back and fix it or rectify the situation. Looks like we got a little Allen wrench here. We got 2 batteries that come with it. You've got basically 2 user guides. So it looks like one is kind of more of a quick start guide here. Gives you some of the features, competition ready reticle. That was another thing I liked when I looked through it, was the reticle. Looked really good. I just liked it. You had your hash marks and all that, but also too, there was almost kind of like a EOTech type circle with dots for shooting close up. The glass, and that was something where, hey, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. I've only looked through so many scopes in my life, but at least this one that I've looked through, the clarity, I like the clarity a lot. They say it's also double spring tension internal assemblies, built to withstand the harshest shooting environments and hold zero after round after round. Also, too, the lenses coated, of course, for durability. So I think they're pretty much, kind of making this scope. They're expecting, maybe people are shooting 3-gun with it, or, whatever it might be. The scope's going to take kind of a beating or a pounding. Basically, how to set your scope up here. They got some directions on that for the eyepiece, windage, all that. The throw lever adjustment, illumination. That was another thing I liked when I looked through it. I thought the illumination was really good. And they also go into looking after it, using a lens pen. That's one thing you don't want to do is take like your shirt and use it to clean the lens. That is a no-no. And then here's how the reticle looks right here. So I like the reticle. That's one thing that, like I said, that drew me to it. And here's some of the specs right here for those of y'all that are really into the specs. I gotta tell you, as I get older, a lot of this stuff with specs, you get to a point where you can only put so much information into your brain. And whenever I was 20, I could remember all that stuff or thought it mattered. And as you get older, you kind of realize, like, well, maybe some of it's useful, but I can't remember all that stuff. So there you all go, if you need all that information. But yeah, I think it's a good starter scope from what I've seen so far and having shot it and all that. And then also, too, this is kind of a more in-depth one, so you can kind of get into it here, more in the weeds on it. So more useful information if you need it. I always read the instructions. I don't know about you guys, but I always give the instructions a read. The other thing that I bought with this was their peeper mount. So peeper stands for not like, that type of peeper, but proper eye position ready mount. So instantly provides up to 2 additional inches of forward eye relief when used to mount scopes on a pick rail platform. So you get 2 rings, one for pick rails and one for smooth tops. So you got your instructions here. So we're going to go ahead and use this. I figured just go ahead and basically get the company mount that would go with this scope and not try to complicate my life any more than it needs to be. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing hooked up and get it going. Now, one thing you're going to have to do to put the battery in is you'll remove this compartment here on what I would call the driver's side of the scope, basically the left side if you're looking down range with it. And this just screws off, and then you just put your button cell in there. These CR203 batteries, they're very common, not hard to find. Always have a bunch of these on hand because also my car key fob uses them too. It's easy just to buy them in bulk. One thing it did say in the instructions was not to leave the battery in for more than a month if you're, not using it or whatever. Okay, folks, so went ahead and got the scope on, and not overly complicated. Just kind of took a punt in terms of where eye relief would be with this rifle and attached it to the pick rail and got it right the first time. And then just had to make a slight adjustment with the scope forward and back. The other thing, too, was getting the lines and basically getting the scope level. So, again, I'm not a gunsmith, nor do I play one on YouTube. So what I did was a little bit creative, and I'll show you here. Over here on the garage wall, or the garage door, basically those lines there, what they are is they are level with the universe. So I went ahead and used my level and made sure that the lines were perfectly straight, and they are. Basically stood at a distance away and looked through the scope and just got the lines perfectly lined up with that, and then started to lock it down. And that's pretty much the way we did it. I don't know how gunsmiths do it, but that seemed to work okay, so we'll try it out. Folks, next thing is to take this up to the range, go ahead and get it sighted in and check everything out. Of course, we will recheck all the screws to make sure nothing is loosened up either after we shoot it a couple times. So folks, here we are taking a look through the Burris RT-6. We've got the illuminator turned on there. So this will just kind of give you a feel for what it looks like through the scope. And just getting the camera here to cooperate, and just have to hold it very steady. So that's about what to kind of expect through it. And let's go ahead, we're going to change our magnification here. Okay, so we went ahead and dialed it back down to 1. And that's what it looks like at 1x there. And then we'll go ahead and we'll dial it up a little bit. All right, folks, so that's how it looks through the scope here at 6x. So hopefully that's focusing good. Okay folks, let's do a quick walk around here on the scope. So right here towards the front of the scope on the left hand side or the driver's side, this is the illuminator dial, so it goes from 1 to 10, and in between each number there is an off setting as well. So if you want to turn it immediately off, very easy to do so with that. So super simple with that. Okay folks, so at the back here we have our dial where we can adjust this to adjust the magnification all the way up to 6. The other thing is this right here. This is removable, so you can put this wherever you want on any one of these tabs. It's all up to you. And then right here at the back, this right here, turning this dial back and forth will adjust your focus. So that's the two different controls that you have back here towards the back of the scope. And kind of more on the passenger side or the right hand side of the scope, you have your two dials to adjust your windage or your elevation. So they simply have these caps right here that screw off. So once you've made the adjustments that you want, you can go ahead and put those caps over as protective caps. And one click equals 1/2 MOA. So to move your point of impact, it tells you which way to go. Right here is to the right, and the arrow pointing that way. So pretty easy to figure out. Same thing up here on the top. Same deal. You can just take this off, and this will allow you to adjust for your elevation. So pretty simple overall. Then the other nice feature that they do include is two pieces of pick rail up here. So if you would like to add a red dot sight using the pick rail there, you have two different options on how you can do that. So a lot of folks on these types of scopes, they like to mount an additional red dot just for close-up shots. So that is very possible here to do that with this. Now folks, in this instance, the camera does not want to focus. However, we should be able to see there in the viewfinder the illumination, which is what we're looking for. So this is with it off, and then this is the lowest setting right here. And we're going to start to dial it up, and just a little bit more. We're now at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're all the way maxed out. So on, it kind of depends on the day and all that sort of stuff, but you can dial it up to what you want. Also too, right next to each number, there is a setting where you can turn it off immediately. So basically there's a dot in between each number. So if you go to 10 and you suddenly want to turn it off, then you can just go to the next click and it'll shut it right off. And then if you need to dial it down, you can just dial it down and just rotate the dial. Pretty simple, but that's the illumination there. So yes, sorry it's not perfect there with this whole setup, but you should be able to get the idea. Okay folks, it's time to wrap up the review with my final thoughts. In the end, I have found this scope just as accurate as it needs to be, accurate as it could be. It works pretty good. Most of my shooting is out to 100 yards, so I don't shoot too far beyond that, but also too, my eyes are not what they were back when I was 18, so they don't have probably that precision and that sharpness that I had, 30 some years ago. So, having this variable power optic helps if I'm going to shoot 100 to 200 yards just for that finer bit of accuracy compared to a red dot with maybe a magnifier. So in the end, this has worked pretty good. I think the light transmission on it is pretty good as well, considering the price point. So looking through other scopes in the past, I would say this one holds up pretty good for the price. I like the illuminator here. The illuminator is nice. You can either turn that on or off to your wishes. And some days I need it, some days I don't. It just kind of depends. Sighting it in here with the 2 turrets on the side, I found pretty easy to do. There's directions in the manual for the exact numbers and stuff to kind of look for. Had no problem sighting it in. I think I made 3 groups to get it totally dialed in, so we were good to go. Changing the power from, you can go from 1.5 and then 2 and beyond to 6x. I would say 6x for most people, you know, if you're just shooting out a couple hundred yards, you know, or less than that. I think for most folks that's going to work fine. I know these days a lot of folks are going to these 1 in 8, 1 in 10 scopes. That's cool. That's fine. I think, you know, the 1 to 6, I think that's, you know, perfectly fine for just average kind of medium distance stuff. I think that works pretty good for a sporting rifle. And then also too, we have our focus back here at the back, and I found the focus worked pretty good, and just kind of dialed that into whatever I needed, so that worked well. So in the end, folks, in the peeper mount here too, I forgot to mention that the peeper mount here seems to be pretty good, pretty solid. And also we do have the pick rail here, so if I do want to come back and add a little red dot in the future, I can do that too. But in the end, folks, I'm pretty happy with it. It's good value. It serves this rifle well, does what it needs to do, and pretty much everything that I've asked for it works. And how I found this too was I used someone else's that you know, they came here and did some shooting, and I was very impressed with it. So went ahead and got one myself, and here we are. So works pretty good. Definitely put this into, you know, some consideration and think about it. There's a lot of different competition out there and a lot of different products, but I think in this price range and for what it does, I think it's good value for money, and I'm very happy with it. So anyways, folks, give it a check out and see what you think.